And welcome one, welcome all to the Planet Poetry 28 of March. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be specializing in this book here called Kaleideoscopoetry, which was an anthology of the Poetry Global Network, the group that helps me put this together and is part of the group. We do workshops and events such as this and open mics, and now we're publishing obviously as well and in this, and we're looking forward to sharing some of our readings with you, some of the members of the group, and indeed to have you share as well at this particular venue. The venue, as you know, Planet Poetry, specializes in that everybody uses the share screen to show their poem as they're reading it. And I felt when I first found this a couple of years ago, as I started to share screen and see people, a couple of people would share the screen, it really helped me a lot. I've been listening to poetry for 50 years and I still lose focus and can't keep right in the poem, especially in some of the denser page poems that people do write. And so when I see the poem and I see the poet also reading in his own voice and I see it, I can get back into the poem if I'm distracted. And I find I gain a little bit more out of it, especially here in the Zoom world that we have and looking at the Hollywood squares in two dimensions as we all are to each other. So that's been my little mission is to do this. And we're on once a month on the 28th day of every month at different times and for different time zones. And then it's all recorded and put on YouTube. So I'm Mark Fishman. I'll begin as I sometimes do. And I have the book here on the on my screen as well. So I'll be able to just uh, scroll and read if any of the people in the group would like me to do that for you. And I will start. Let me. Here I am coming up. I'm sorry, as I'm letting some other people in. Serene and Mark. So this is me. I'm also known as Poet with Guitar. I do play, but I find the sound and the uh, just the lack of presence of playing music on Zoom. I don't prefer to do so. I like doing in person. Occasionally, I try. I've been native New Yorker. I graduated CCNY in 1971, attended the Sorbonne. I have several collections of poetry, including this one, the Reflections in the Time of Trumpius Maximus, my latest publication, which we'll see how that goes now that the monster has reawakened from the dark, and we're stuck with it for a while. So we'll see how that particular book goes. To you, reader, we have just met. We are in a black room with this poem. All doors are closed. There are no windows or cracks. It is, in a way, like a coffin. We are comfortable. Our bodies are dressed in soft cloth. We are neither hungry or thirsty, tired or bored. You do not know if I am from North or South. You do not even know the century I am living in, or if this is written in a native tongue and translated to yours. You do not know if I am male or female, young or old, my race or what gods my people invent. Now a lamplight is shadowless on this page, like a star among a billion galaxies that by chance or fate is our sun. So on this plentiful earth, where time matters, we can begin to communicate in this dead silent space. I will offer my poems and only beg of you to tell me who I am. The here above, the now below. The wise agree with the clear-minded Buddha that all life is suffering in transitory landscapes. But I'm a poet. What would be the point, really, to deny myself these exalted moments of pain? I choose the sorrow of my own making. The universe of me rules in open defiance. I see the pockmarked lunar face hide combat scars with drunken gods. I ride a comet whose frozen tears carry sperm of the indifferent eternity. Let the music Eerie growl of baritones deafened the tundra with winds from a south. So what? That all is illusion but the violence of decay. I don't care anymore. Whatever seems real is real enough. I look skyward and see a falcon gliding by with wings extended in currents of air, or a rapture in hunting from the clouds, the here above and the now below. And I'll read one or two two others. The other, there's one humanity or there isn't, which is said by Wole Soyinka, the African Pulitzer Prize winner, in an interview in the New York Review of Books. Your country was born in slavery and genocide. Don't fret, so was mine. They all were. We're like chimpanzees pissing on a tree to claim territory for the tribe. Our ancestors ripped out the hearts of their enemies and threw them to the slime. Stranger, there is a part of you that's racist. Don't bother denying, we all hide it. Your parents and those before them warned it was the way of things. Be wary of those who don't speak as you speak. Let them be with their own demons. You worship your survival above mine. Starvation makes us cannibals. Just by chance are some born to beg, while others live by possessions alone, burying their coins to be safe from the storm, only to drown in greed and remorse. I hate that our countries are stained in plunder. I hate that we judge each other's race. I hate that we pass the hungry with pockets full. There's one humanity or there isn't, and we are just the same, stranger, waiting for a transformation from beast to human. And I'll end with this poem, thank you, a photograph of black tulips. Les tulipes noirs. They bloom when the sky is dense with stars, when the garden wakes from its abandoned winter, when the black night that covers the earth is misted in transparent light, when the grasses are asleep and deep breathing, and the open fields rise through the land cloud, hovering on the horizon to an infinity of trees. They bloom when the grateful soil has its belly full of spring rain, and as they are released, they scream from the terror of birth in the full moon, condemned to carry the darkness which bears the energy of night. And those were four poems from the book that I had. Thank you very, very much. Our next poet is Finn Bell. Uh, Finn, I'll read a little bit from uh, your biography here. And do you want to share, or should you want me to share for you?
I'll share. Thank you so much. I'll share
Sure.
from my end.
Well, Finn Bell is a San Francisco Bay Area poet, writer, and co-director of the Poetry Global Network, as well as Finn Calarium sessions on Twitter Spaces. Her poetry was featured in Postal Magazine's inaugural issue beginnings. Her pieces included 2 poetry anthologies in 2021. Finn has one poetry collection titled Some Days Here. You can find her hosting a bi-monthly online open mic, as well as organizing either poetry events and programs through our Fincabulary platform that endeavor to make poetry wildly available. You can follow her on Instagram, which I'll put in the chat. Finn is a very, very known and popular person in the Poetry Zoom community. It's my pleasure to introduce Finn Bell.
Thanks so much, Mark. All right, so let's get right into it. Share my screen. Let me know if you could see this. Wonderful. Okay. Let me move this out of the way. Oops, what's going on here? There we go. Okay. First poem is called It's Morning Here. The rooster crows his joy on weekends. His crow is bleary alarm I awaken to, prodding me ready for school. On weekdays, good morning. A sun has never been this orange, a golden, full butterscotch drop suspended in the sky. Its fervor for this life is as lusty when it meets us as when it departs. Its arrival, its lingering goodbye, always equal fervor. An attentive, patient lover. Constancy in the daytime. The sugarcane rustles back a greeting, last sway a sensuous reminder of how nighttime holds on. In the shadow, for as long as she can, the leaf blades grow coy, settling its roots more firmly in the generosity of the nurturing soil, a desire to be still. The next poem is actually one that is included in the anthology in Kaleideoscopoetry. It's called New. I feel the desire infuse my whole body. Lying next to your body, it carries a delicious alien heft. I watch our muscles move in the rhythm. They speak to one another in nerve endings brushed when skin can know skin by its flavor. I will never entirely comprehend. Neural synapses overload, my mind muddled, soma in her element, omniscient. Curvature and hollow, unyielding sinew, our bodies, valleys and plains coming together, seeking union of fossa and bone, knowing how to solve a gorgeous puzzle of impenetrable falling into willing softness and becoming engulfed in it, finding we cannot distinguish boundaries of flesh ending and flesh beginning. We cannot hear the beat of two distinct hearts. With each shift of weight, a corresponding sensation in wombs and corpus subequatorius, my response in echoing sighs. With each shift of weight, you explore the wonder of how new I feel beneath you. And then I want to close with a brand new poem. It's called Snowstorm. And you may or may not recognize the story woven into it. Snowstorm. The floor will appear until where I next step. The door is where the world ends. Yet, this is where I am, loving phantoms, pressing my hands upon the peeling wallpaper. I do not stall them from seeping out of walls, exposing my ghost arms to the sun and watching as they dissolve. We are helpless. As the apparitions escape the house, they have known the places unseen, understand boundaries, disregard them. The wide world outside of you become the seduction riding the atmosphere, fast becoming reality. You long to exist in the beyond. Among them, you put one foot before the other, but do not comprehend because it's not for you. The ground will fall out from beneath. Outside, the world is overwhelming as it closes in around your head. Sky, a pale powder of smoke, halos you. You realize snowflakes can be minute, can fit on the tip of your little finger, can be one in a billion miraculous iterations present in this harmonious blanket of silvery 8-point blades. And still, each one pleads to be unique. You pretend to be K, claiming the ice catching in your lashes are pieces of glass, occluding your sight, freezing your heart. You have made up your mind to call this your excuse to shed the burden of caring. Where you shun the searing pressed kiss, the hot tears that wet down your resolve. You do not want your Gerda, because Gerda is the spring. Because Gerda smells of the rose petals tickling your cheeks. You used to pull off her thorns one by one, just to excite the bright crimson blood pulsing sensation from your pricked fingers. You don't want your Gerda, because Gerda's heartbeat is too familiar. And the heart is the home, and home is love, and love is too damn frightening. The roses ceased to bloom. The summer she put one foot out in front of the other, seeking you, swallowed by flurries, gray flint arrow in the billions. The garden, abandoned, circles the house. Senile and mad, they reminisce. Thank you.
Thank you, Finn. I think one of the nice parts of this event is that I put it on YouTube afterwards, and you can go back and look at these poems again. And because a lot of them really want a second listening to. That was really lovely. And so many different forms you're using also, prose poetry and short, tight lines and long lines and so many different things. Good for you to be so experimental and to make them all work. Thank you. So I'm going to ask Martin to read, and then Lacan, and then we'll pass the stage around to everyone here. Martin is one of the main editors of this book. He's on the XCOM as well. He's has an eye of a hawk as far as editing is concerned. We've really met someone who has such a keen sense of every period and semicolon, and it's been a delight to have him help out with the book. Martin is a Nottingham, UK-based poet. When not teaching English as a second language, he is coordinator of World Jam, a nonprofit connecting communities through poetry and music, co-host of Linguas, a monthly online multilingual open event, and a co-founder of Poetry Global Network. In his first collection, Pretty Boys of Gangstertown, was published in 2020 by Fly on the Wall. He has performed extensively around the UK, Midlands, Berlin, Edinburgh, all over the place, all kinds of festivals. And a DOY Poetry Fix in 2019. He often wonders if people keep mistaking him for the poet they actually wanted and are too polite to tell him. Well, we'll find. Thank you, Martin. Martin, do you want me to share, or do you want to share your own?
I can share, Mark, but thank you for that intro. That's yeah, thank you. So, hey everyone, can you all hear me? Okay.
A little bit of an echo.
Okay. I'll try moving a bit closer. That always happens when I tidy up. Is that any better?
We'll get through, sure.
No worries. I'll try. Hang on. Where's my sharing? Yeah. So, in fact, let me just try. How's that? Is that any better?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So no worries. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of poems, and if there's time, I'll do a third. They're both from the book. And by the way, Mark, that's it's like you described me as having an eye of a hawk. I described that as me being a pain in the whatever. But thank you for describing that so politely. So yeah, I'm going to do two poems from the same little home village that I grew up in, but set 30 years apart. So this first one is from 1989. It's called Ford Capri's Are Better Than Volkswagen Beetles. That's kind of like the British Ford Mustang, but yeah. Today, me and Chris are 8 years old, softly superimposed on my view from the uncleared roadside table at Snoopy's Cafe, waiting for the 24 to middle school. There's no sign or shelter, but we know the bus stops here. And we know it's almost always at least 5 minutes late, so we dare each other to run inside the keyboard shop and wonder why our little village has a keyboard shop. I can just about play Happy Birthday, but Chris is already grade 4, and I don't know what that means, but we all call him Mozart because he's better than Mrs. Phillips. We don't go inside. We never do. Chris thinks that Volkswagen Beetles are better than Ford Capris, and we wonder if the bus will arrive before the old lady gets her newspaper and walks back up Station Road. Station Road doesn't go to the station. I wonder if it's the only station road in the world that doesn't, and Chris thinks that's weird, but Nan says it's interesting, although she says that about everything. Me, Mum and Simon often go round to her flat on Station Road. Mum says not to ask her why she keeps the loo roll under a doll, because she always has really nice jelly sweets and gets me toy cars from the post office. They never have any Ford Capris, and she never comes to the playground anymore, even though it's really close to her flat, where Station Road rejoins the main road by the bus stop at the top of the hill, where I'll just clear those away for you. I tell the barista that Snoopy's used to be a keyboard shop, and they nod politely. Thank you. That's the first one. And the second one is from, I think, around 2019. Not anyone who's lived in or is from like a really tiny place knows that nothing really changes, and every time something does change, it's kind of a big deal, sort of thing. Or like number 25 has got a new front door, kind of thing. It's tiny changes are very important. This is a poem called New Builds from 30 years later. Remember when the new builds were new? The ones that used to be a factory near Nan's old place, the other side of the railway? Remember I took a photo of its roof from my old bedroom? One of those lustreless 6x4 next day pickups saves you more than a half-return photos from that camera where the viewfinder always pointed a little bit to the left. Do you remember what they made there? What it was called? Remember Dad saying the garages were too narrow to put cars in because they are, and that guy with in the middle cul-de-sac has to cover his classic car up with a tarp? Remember that one we thought was an open house when it was actually someone's moving day? I think it was the one by the alley near the chemist, the one with the diagonal bit where no one's ever bothered to cut the corners of the bricks off. Remember how surprised that bloke was when he saw us in his living room? How he politely told us we should leave with an "if you don't, I'm out of options" stare? Remember how many times we said sorry? How we somehow held our laughter in until we got to the alley? Do you know it's only 300 meters from here? I guess it always felt like further when I wasn't tall enough to see my old bedroom window from the footbridge. I know we'd be time wasting, but there's one for sale in the cul-de-sac by Nan's if you fancied a look. I'd help you over the bridge. Think it'd be fun, you know, just for our time's sake. There we are. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed those, and really looking forward to everyone else too. So thanks, everyone.
Oh, thank you, Martin. There's something very British about you. I love it.
Thank you.
It shows in your poems. There's that very subtle. I love that. I love that conceit. It's wonderful. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you. I should, at this point, I really should be bringing a cup of tea into shop, but I didn't think of that. But no, thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I posted a little thing in the chat for us. So I'll introduce Lacan, and then we'll have a little round, and hopefully you'll all be able to share some poems with us. So let me introduce then Lacan, coming from far away Manila, at the opposite end of the opposite end of the clock. Lacan was really the spearhead for the Poetry Global Network. It was an idea he had as we were meeting on Zoom quite often, and the idea of putting together a group that could somehow promote and and involve the global community that we were finding was largely his, and we all appreciate that a lot, Lacan, and welcome again here. Lacan, if you don't know him, is published with 8 publications in 5 countries. His poetry is included in the National Creative Writing Textbook in the Philippines. He is featured in Tupelo Press's 3030 project as well as the Poetry Society of New York. He's featured in the House Channel's History.com, the World Speech Day, Friday Night Live, Ireland, and a whole bunch more. Lacan has performed in thousands of Zoom events and is a well-known uh, poet and performer of a very high merit. And it's my pleasure to introduce my friend and fellow poet, Lacan. There you are.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm actually not in Manila. Right now, I'm in Goa in Camarines Sur, but still in the Philippines. So, and yeah, thank you so much, Mark. And I love that part, the merit part. That was very nice. Thank you. Magandang gabi. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lacan, and I'm a poet from the Poetry Global Network, and I'm based in Pilipinas, or the Philippines. So I have 2 pieces today. First one comes from the book Kaleideoscopoetry, brought to you by PGN, and it's available on Amazon. So Mark, please feel free to drop the link where they can actually get the book. And I am so proud of the hard work that everyone gave to give birth to this book. And thank you for also coming to this event. So thank you, Planet Poetry. So I will share screen the 2 poems. And so this one, wait. So the first one, this is in the book called Violet. And this is a true story from one of my rescues in 2017. And we gave her the name Violet. She is a victim of human trafficking and prostitution of minors in the Philippines. Violet. I promise I don't scream between his midnight and my age. My throat is held like a chilled bottle of San Miguel beer. Tight, so truth won't slip out a child, pressed to choke, that it drowns my saliva to seek help. I couldn't spit his tongue out. I wouldn't dare. My bare jaw is more naked than my body, tailored like an addiction in a gulp. I drank his drunk, swallowing my disconsent. I wanted to vomit him, but fear gagged me better than his finger sliding under me. I'm under him, dragged to the drop, feeling the feeling of a bottoms up. My bottom is up, hung like a toast of betrayal. I trusted him, but now I'm a case, ready for rounds. His mouth is round. I felt his dim mustache, damning a dumbing tingle. The tickle is a trickle of abuse. Alcohol by vagina, ABV. He doesn't know the difference. Chugging a sucked innocence. I wish he'd stop. He did. It's wig. He lifted his head. His head pushed inside me. There is nothing there to break. I am broken. Shards are hidden in my bosom that blinds even the moon. There's a shadow there I'm scared of. He scarred me with his moans, like evil, spelled backwards, inwards, thrusting his legs. It doesn't bag his laughters. I'm a joke. When his swung hips cheered his violation deeper than my evening. I can't even wish it's morning. He swilled my will already. His shots are ready to burn me. Come is coming. He thumbs his thumb on my palm. He's humping faster. I wish he'll be done quicker than dawn. We both don't want anyone to know how he slugs me. He's close. My eyes can't close to dizzy a memory being imbibed. Here comes his intoxication. Ah, 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 to my I can feel his cock as the cock both spits mornings. He pissed silence on my ear, like up his head. He knows I won't talk. How could I? Trauma knows how to mute hope, especially when my mama lies better than a drunkard in a curb, wobbling truth, guzzled down, like the way he left my bed, smirking. He got his fill. He got filled. No, I got filled. I want to, but I can't puke him out. He's a hangover that hangs over between a knock and being knuckled. Time clocks under the sheets. Fear can't sleep faster than regret. I cannot forget. Can't recover. You see, assault has a recovery food. When rape eats breakfast with you too. Good morning, Papa. Maraming salamat. Thank you. Now, for my next piece, for Violet. This is not in the book. And this is some of a new poem. It's called When Peter Flies Off. 33 looks like spooning. The memory of me to my pillow. I was 5, pressing my body into it, close enough to choke my screams of how growing up happens when Peter is killed by his mother, leaving her family for her Wendy. Now I thought I was her light, her golden boy, now adulterated of the adulting of selfishness. Adultery makes a ruin out of a son. I didn't know what hell was, but summer was burning on my eyes. March marched her exit, and tears are falling stories like a suicide on the pages of cotton stuck on my face. I couldn't face the cadaver of youth burying inside my body. The hook? She didn't even say goodbye. Stabbed at the turn of a knob. She didn't know I was awake. I've been in a wake of tick-tock, tucked in a crack, oh, dilating question, why? 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 I'm growing up as a left behind. When your mother leaves you, who can still stay? But the sheet of abandonment, how easy was it for her to let go? The next to leave is Peter, as ashes of innocence flail like pixie dust. dusted away, and the wailing that my begging makes, and the burned childhood lying cold. There's no Tinkerbell to catch my age. There's just a lost boy between 35 Celsius and the 8 hours of my lament. Meant Neverland fell on March 25th on a tombstone of dying fairy tales. Many years have passed. I've turned silver, wrinkled by time. Yet I still read the tears in my sleep, knowing once upon a time, my Peter, my bright and sweet Peter Pan, panned down to the everland of the past, and people like me are still crying. Still, ever alone, never whole, on our bed of grief, wishing Peter would fly again. How about you? How did your Peter Pan die? You, Finn, how did your Peter Pan die?
Reality seeping in.
How about you, Mark? How did your Peter Pan die?
I held out as long as I could till I was about 30. and then and then uh and then it slowly faded.
How about you, Martin? How did your Peter Pan die?
An accident.
Well, to Peter Pan, the childhood that we will always give flowers to until we meet again. Thank you. Maraming salamat.
Well, thank you, Lacan. Oh, what a performance. I think to some extent we can say that poetry lives in these performances in a way, more than it can in any other way. And seeing the poem and hearing the way you read it and perform it and perform your work as well as the content of your work is astounding. And it's really a treat for everyone to experience that. And thank you very much. Okay, that was just wonderful. Well, so good. Wow. So now I'll open up the group. Lee, are you there? Just walked away from the table. I had put a little list in the chat of all of us that are here to maybe read a poem. Lee, I had Lee's poem, but he just stepped away. So, Richard, would you want to read? And then Unmesh and Laura and all that. And do you have something, Connie, do you want to read today? No, no. Lee, I have your poem if you'd like to recite it. Lee, I don't know much about you to introduce you, other than you live in the west of England.
Southeast. Yes, well, yes, my name's Lee Lane. I mean, most of the stuff I write, certainly written recently, is for performance. I've been performing with a jazz group for quite a long time until COVID hit. And so if you can imagine a sort of jazz combo in the background.
What do you play?
No, I spent 4 years trying to play God Save the Queen on the recorder and failed.
Okay.
I decided vocal accompaniments were my my only contribution to the musical venue. Okay, this is called Thought in the Forest. In the old chill-groaning forest, a child sits beneath a tree, flicking acorns in the air. The cup embraces the core holds tied the cup. Bloodied inconvenience for the oak tree that has to break that close coital lock. I am a young, fast-walking stranger. The forest groans don't ease my anger. Even the stars hang out like the old whores on Greek Street, patiently putting off the dawn. The grass surrenders the snow, hugs tight the earth, like a frightened thing. Abused by darkness, I stumble. My foot snags an aging sprig of thorn. It breaks, cracks, wrapping around my shoe, a fractured limb of a wounded tree snapping as I move. The primal law rekindled, demanding brittleness, split in two. Just another casualty of the battle, the endless battle in the eternal war. Another pawn surrendered, dying as it should. Another skirmish in the forest. Another brave beaten, lying breathless on the ground. Another nameless warrior broken, his colors pale, hung against the dawn. Another fast-walking stranger standing silent in the snow, waiting for the dying to be over, waiting for the dwindling moon pass its mantle to the sun, listening to the wind echo through the branches, gossiping with the trees, its voice soft and funereal, brushing against my ear, whispering, leave it on the ground, awaiting burial. Dawn must forget the sorrows of the night, and the dead alone remain to mourn the dead. As friends we watch, I in wonder, the forest in pain. Another twig will grow, another branch will blossom, another life spring of seams streaming from the earth. Soon, you will be whole again, but altered, different, never quite the same. For alone in this harlot evening, a stranger has changed the pattern of your trees. And now, no matter how you moan, no matter how you groan, no matter how you lay your branches to your gods, you are a new, chill-groaning forest. And the child still sits beneath the tree, flicking his ageless acorns in the air, in the air. Thank you.
There's just so many arresting lines in there, and it's wonderfully crafted,
Very
and
kind.
well read. That was a great poem. Look forward to seeing and hearing that again. And thank you for sharing that. Wow.
Gosh, all this praise has shocked my camera and it jumped off.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, thanks, Lee, and we'll certainly see you again. I'm sure at Planet Poetry. You're certainly invited to come and feature sometime, as we all are here. Our next poet, Richard, is a person, is a friend I met some many years ago at the live when I was doing the poetry workshops live in DC at a group called Poets on the Fringe, POTF. And Richard is a poet of very unusual talents. He's been writing a book about his experiences in the Vietnam War. And I've done with Richard at Memorial Day, he does a poetry reading, which all day with all the different poets, with all the different writers, veterans, for Veterans Day, I'm sorry, Memorial Day. And it's a wonderful thing, which I'm happy to be a part of. And Richard, what do you have to share with us today?
Let's see if I remember how to share. There it is. Give me 1 second here. Oh my God. I have too many.
Can you find that one that's on your
Yeah,
your desktop?
I didn't know why I have so many things only open, or I didn't know that I had so many things open. Let me see if this is it. Let me see how to do this. They're not open on my desktop.
You know what you should do? Just I'll move on to unmesh and come right back. Just take everything off your desktop except for that one poem. And take your time.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll introduce Unmesh next, and we'll come right back to you. Unmesh
That was
Mohikar
weird.
is someone I have. I have both his books, and they're very exciting, including the one that his most recent book, which is right behind him. For those who possibly don't know Unmesh, a very well-known figure in the poetry Zoom world, who has a very successful Saturday morning group called Unmesh Life. And Unmesh has been an inspiration to me since the first time I saw him perform. I was just razzle dazzled by him, and I continue to be, as is the whole world. Unmesh from India, my pleasure to always introduce you, my good friend.
Thanks,
Take us
wow.
home.
Wow. Let me share. Are you able to see the share
Yes,
screen?
yes, we
Oh,
are.
here we go. No, no. All is not fair in love and war. So many poems, movies, and books written about love. Love is business, love is war, love is fight, love is flight, love is infinite. If love goes out of business, economy will tank. Love is searching in nothingness. Love. Is it a reality or just a chemical reaction to add flavor to life? The kissing, the missing, the loving, the cuddling, the fighting, the caring, the crying, the dying, the waiting. Don't get me wrong. I completely get it. Falling in love, love at first sight, love without boundaries, love songs drenched in rain, love suffering in vain. All is fair in love and war is a 15th century quote still used, misused, and abused. No. Everything is not fair in love and war. This favors the rich and the strong to hide their wrong, sell their love song, kick people like a ping pong ball. It has ruined so many lives and countries, empty people, lonely in jam-packed bazaars of loveless hearts. No. All is not fair in love and war. Romantic concept of love, myth for me. Love might exist or not, but I see the lonely, forlorn eyes looking into infinity in waiting. The search for love is immortal. People love the search more than the love. Once love is found, search is dead. Imagine searching for something which might not exist. But still, I say all is not fair in love and war. My search for true love has taken me too far into the infinity inside me. So near, yet so far. So near, yet so far. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
You guys are awesome.
Wow.
I
Yes,
think I need to
everybody
take
here has been.
an acting class.
That's just awesome. Wow, that's just so honestly true. Everything you said, Unmesh. I mean, I'm looking forward to looking at that again. But yes, I did not know that all is fair in love and war was a 15th century quote. But I think that's just wonderful. Great find. I think that's a very successful. Certainly moved us all. Thank you, Unmesh. Thank you for coming. Richard, are you all set,
Yep.
do you think?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm okay. None of those were open on my desktop. It was a memory thing. So let me see if,
You got it.
oh, now my file is closed. Shit.
Well, you can open
Hey.
it, then come back to us. Open the file.
Well,
You
it
can
was
find it.
open. Something must be going on with my
Yeah.
laptop. Damn.
If you know where it is,
You can see on your right hand side there are documents. Maybe one of them is yours, what you were searching for. On the right hand side under the search bar.
Yeah, why don't you go to the next person, and I promise to.
okay, sure.
I don't know what's going on, but
That's
obviously
okay. It happens to all of us, believe me.
not me.
Our next is Lantern Carrier, who I'm not sure
Hi.
needs much of an introduction because he is the Lantern Carrier of a wonderful tradition of mystical and love poetry and any combination of the above, and has been also a very seen and beloved fixture because of the integrity and stance that he takes in his poetry, has moved so many people in all different continents. A very busy fellow, Lantern Carrier.
Thank you so much. Do I have one or two poems?
Sure, two is fine.
Okay.
Of course, we're a smaller group.
Okay. No one else will ever matter to me. Birds sing harmoniously in the breaking dawn, and the kiss of joy within is precious. Sunrise shimmers on a brightly lit daybreak as my soul dances, bewitched by the brilliance of its luster. Light zephyrs waltz a soft melody, playing the hauntingly eloquent strings of Mozart like a regal symphony. My heart drinks from a plethora of happiness, struggling with that word, wooing my spirit with its magic. I have no home, and my heart roams within the saffron-colored robes of the Sannyasin. Not the outer garments, but the seeds of dispassion, the golden raiment of an intense longing for my sweetest Shama. Without you, my queen, grief swallows my gaze with its veil, leaving me fallen in despair, a shipwrecked vessel, awaiting rescue tankers to take me home. With you beside me, I feel a quintessence of love, transforming the cobwebs within. Every moment of your absence creates endless agony, and my arteries feel narrow with oxygen impeded to the cells. Now you've merged like strands to the sitar, and your harmonies make all else seem meaningless. Gone are the imprints of memories when remorse and sorrow kept me company. Now we stroll along in Dillsburg, high above sunsets and horizons. Here the magenta leaves kiss the earth each autumn like old friends, happy like you and I to blend with each other in synergy. Only you, my love, can satiate the agony of my longing, this dependency on goodness that merges pain, faith, and beauty together. Only you, my empress, for as long as you remain inside my heart, no one else will ever matter to me. That's poem 1. We rise by lifting others. Earth speaks of my holiness like prayers, concealed within the agony of my heart's longing for happiness. Bluebirds partake in this heavenly romance, even as they chirp in distant foliage amidst the silent glimmer of dawn. Within a pervading stillness, a vista of cascading rose-pink leaves elevates my receptive soul. If one can escape the chatter of unruly emotions, love will fill the silence with 1,000 worth of glories. Like vermilion roses, we rise by lifting others. Affect Mother Gaia by the vibrations we offer to the world. Magnolias offered with sincere intentions will only unfurl beauty, even as the parched earth grows green, grateful for the blessings of torrential rain. Where there is love in the soil, there will be radiance in the flowers. If there is fuel in the wood, it will ignite with flames of light. Gray skies devoid of the sun are not going to provide warmth, neither will a dark night glisten, lamenting the loss of a waning moon. Oh, love, I have so many desires that my untamed mind converses with 1,000 thoughts, seldom listens to the dictates of the inner synagogue. I entreat you to elevate my heart so that, like an iridescence of stars, I will inspire humanity even in our darkest nights. Anton Carrier, thank you. I never seem to know how to get out of this. Oh, there we are.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you for taking us out of our darkest nights, Lantern, as you so often do.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
I'm gonna try once more, all right?
Thank you, Lantern. Wow. Yes, sure, Richard.
Okay, can everybody see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I don't know what was going on. I
No
never will.
problem, Richard.
The enemy within. The earth trembles at its touch. Its hulking body reeks with the stench that kills as it stumbles across a weary land. It stops and turns toward me as if it senses my presence or the sound of blood flowing inside. Its arms flail about as it lunges this way or that. Each step creates a growing crevasse where nothing will grow. Its skin drips like rubber and oozes yellow-green. Under its arm, a canvas bag filled with newsreels of man's past deeds. It sings an ugly song that thunders and darkens the sky. It appears in my dreams and waits till I wake. I inhale its essence and travel to quiet lands. And one more.
Please.
At 10 a.m., the room is silent. Sunlight peeks through an open window. I stretch, yawn, check Facebook. I check emails. I check messages. No one has anything to say. No one to invite me to a late breakfast. No one to invite me to tea. The day has begun for many. A breeze carries the scent of lilacs. A cardinal argues with a squirrel. How blue the sky. I begin the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. That was worth waiting for.
Well, it was great to read with you guys. I think you're wonderful, all of you.
You know, your poetry is on this is equal well crafted and thought out, Richard. Thank you very much.
Well, I
for
had
sharing.
to get the best in order to be on the same level as you guys.
That's okay. Well, thank you. So we have I'm going to ask Laura Perna to read, and then we have two more members from the Kaleidoscope Poetry book that have joined, which will read for us as well. Laura, I just recently met. I know that she does a weekly or monthly podcast event, of which I've been to a couple of times, and I've really enjoyed them. And just getting, just hearing a couple of your readings, I think I've heard you twice. Wonderful poetry, and I'm really excited to introduce you. I don't know much about you though, where you're from, and a little bit more. You can maybe tell us.
Thanks so much, Mark. So the Lion and Pirate is a virtual monthly open mic that I do with my work at the Coalition of Texans with Disabilities, along with Art Spark Texas, which is another Texas organization. The Lion and Pirate came about as an accessible space for poets and writers and musicians and artists with disabilities to present their work, and it's open to all, whether you have a disability or you're just a friend. So the next one of those is April 1st. We're going to be celebrating the life of one of the unofficial founders of the Lion and Pirate, who is no longer on this plane of existence, but he is still with us in other ways. So I pasted the link to that in the chat. Yeah, so I will stop rambling about the Lion and Pirate and and read a couple poems. And thank y'all so much for having me. Whoops, not that. That. Can y'all see my screen okay? All right.
Yeah.
This is the M dash, my current favorite punctuation mark. The M dash knows your penchant for asides, when your fingers hesitate, or is it your brain? And where the breath catches on its way out. A connective tissue keeping clauses close while expansive enough to ensure their independence. A little glass jar inside a sentence for your humor, your humanity, an open palm and profile offering. So that is that one. And then I have a second one that, Mark, you had been talking right at the beginning of this about going back to teach, going back to school to be able to teach poetry. So I thought I'd bring this one up as well. Just sort of many thoughts about the problems with the way poetry is taught in public schools and how I think it should be done. There are a couple of quotes by other poets that are pointed out on the page, and I'll also reference them after so everyone gets credit. Oh, and there are some swears in this, so I hope that's okay. Okay, teach poetry. Teach poetry like words contain magic. Teach poetry as language for which we have no defenses. Teach poetry for which form, rhyme, meter, verbs, optional. Teach poetry by asking, what is a poem? Why is a poem? Teach poetry as discomfort, uncertainty, sitting with not knowing. Teach the poets, Robert Frost, Frost, Frosting, Frosties. Teach the poets, Emily Dickinson, Dicks, Ducks, Kin, Cun, Cunts, Sons, and the Sun. Teach poetry is impatience. Teach poetry is impermanence. Teach poetry is a practice that doesn't require you know what you're doing. Teach poetry with the assumption that everyone has everything they need to write a poem. Teach poetry is a practice that includes the unsayable laughter mistakes, are they? Throwing your book at the wall, puns, tears, ancestry, discovery, now, then, and everything. Teach poetry is unstoppable. Teach poetry is a hidden secret the poet extracts from themselves with care towards all the interstitial fear, hurt, and love that surrounds it. Teach poetry outside of hierarchy. The best poem is your next poem. Thank you. And it was David White that said, poetry is language for which we have no defenses, which I thought was just brilliant. And then Tom Woodruff, Tom the World Poet, who I assume every poet in the world knows, he likes to say the best poem is the next poem, which is also really terrific. So thank you.
That was wonderful, and I'd like to be able to use that too. So it's exactly the point of it, isn't it? Thank you so much for both those poems, and I'll look forward to coming when I can, certainly to your next event. Well, thank you all for taking a turn. I'm going to return now to the Kaleideoscopoetry book, and Sunny is here and Lowen is here. Sananya is the director and my helper and assistant always for these types of events for the Poetry Academy, which is just like a name that a group of something or other that exists through Poetry Global Network. We do events like this, a little different from the Poetry Global Network, in that we're more focused on workshops and these types of events. Look, I'll read a little of your bio. Sananya was born and raised in Mumbai, India. She resides in Maryland with her husband, children, plants, and goldfish, holding degrees from XLRI and Amandali universities. His poetry is published extensively in international journals and anthologies. And her new book, the name of it again is the name of your book, I've forgotten exactly.
Refugees in their own country.
Yes, Refugees in Your Own Country, about the break between India and Pakistan. And with no further ado, Sunny, do you want me to share or you have it yourself?
I have it.
Thank you.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Bomb. Like an explosion throws pieces everywhere. Time threw us everywhere. Explosion. Untamed fire started in the east, spread to Bengal, crossed all of UP, and ended up expelling people of Sindh. There it is. Bricks. Red mortared with cement, they laid them together. One by one, they built the walls that failed to protect them. Before I go on to the next poem, I really want to share something about this poem. This poem was not like this when I had written it. It was in Mark's workshop, I know one of workshops where Mark was there and Finbel was there. And Finbel suggested this design. And this poem is truly for PGN. This is, everybody was involved in this poem. This poem is hence very special. Puzzles. I have solved many of various kinds, but I can't piece together the lies that fed men. Yes. Can you be quiet for one more minute? Yeah. I'll start again. Puzzles. I have solved many of various kinds, but I can't piece together. I can't piece together the lies that fed men or continue to fight against the country they once belonged to. One last poem, okay? Massacre. Waves are the part of the sea, not controlled by it. Hatred started as a part of man. Thank you.
Well,
You had a
part
little
of being-
competition there.
part of being a mama, but I think we all can appreciate the kind of craft that you did to put those kind of concrete poems
Mark, yes,
together.
that's Mark.
And
Yeah,
thank
Mark.
you.
You know, Mark, he recognizes you.
Okay.
You see Mark so much, right? Where
Oh,
is Mark?
so yes.
Mark?
And closing up
Thank you.
tonight. Closing up tonight, also from the Philippines, another member of the executive staff of the Poetry Global Network is Lawan Latao. Lawan is a writer from the Philippines. He certainly is. He earns a living as an advertising creative professional, something he's doing since 1995. And then Lawan has out, by the way, an award-winning group of a company, one of the best in Asia for graphics and for videos, as you do. He's during the day and pays for his sins through poetry and creative writing at night. He entered the world of spoken word performance slightly before the pandemic, but hit the scene and found audiences for all his work. He's performed all around the world, in Singapore, the UK, US, Japan, Beirut, and more. He's a regular roster of Sanctum, the Philippines' longest running poetry collective, member of the board of directors of the Poetry Global Network, and co-host of twice monthly open mic Bottoms Up on Sunday, which is, I think, one of the great inspirational open mics, which offers people to read and great prompts and just great synergy. Lawan, stage is yours. You're on mute? Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much, Mark. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late. But better late than the late Lawan Bulatao, because yeah, that would make me expired. So that's the thing. I'm going to disappoint Mark because I'm going to be disobedient at this point because I don't want to share something from the book because you should be buying the book. What I am going to try to do is interest you in the things I do write so that if you buy the book, then you'll discover a little more. Fair deal? Fair deal. Okay. Here we go. It's a bunch of quick ones. I never have the patience to write as long as Mark does, but I will display the piece. You guys can see my screen, right? So, leaves and leave taking. Fall, felling, falling, failing, flailing, still ailing, hearts and joints still hurting from all the leaving, this autumn seeming unending, breath spent, slowly choking, the year closes, closing. Leaf is grief, is life, is brief, makes us doubt depth of our belief, believe death our only relief. Down and downward, spiral earthward, earthbound, straining for cold ground, remaining. Debris of a year, dismembered, still remembered, breath surrendered, a vesper, whispered, fruitless branches turned talons, tearing, shredding, shedding, curtain falling, so many pieces of broken sun on this darkling evening. Not all Tuesdays are created equal. Some Tuesdays are ill-advised but unregretted, unrequited but also needed beyond measure, an invitation to rapture, shower of lips on lips on lips, inviting apocalypse, one liquid night of maybe here at ground zero flashpoint of all we've missed or perhaps wished, crash course in sign language spoken through out of practice body parts, translating statistics to chemistry, explosion of uncertainty, exposition, juxtaposition, hands suddenly not strange, here at point blank range. Touch is trigger, but sometimes also the point of it all. Of course, this is not quite how it happened, but I don't care. My hands read her body like a blind man consuming poetry. I love how well written she is, how the exclamations punctuate her in the right places, how she's 80% verb even when standing still. I read on from once upon a time to continued on the next page, through underlined passage, footnotes lie in decadent disorder, threading tenuously into the next chapter. Her story undulates beneath me, above me, taking, making, weaving through and around me, making suggestions of margins, melting the tension of tenses, gliding through ellipses, guilty of not quite getting to the point, which is oddly enough the actual point, because to arrive too soon is to get nowhere fast. Can you read Braille with your tongue? I'm not sure, but hey, let's find out. And let's close off with 2 syllables. I do. It's just 2 syllables. But oh, the difference it makes. Changes the way you fill out government forms or fulfill societal norms. I do changes your eating habits more than a fistful of salt. You're a plural now. Singular, but no longer single. Committed like a crime. Just 2 syllables. Rewires bathroom rhythms. Makes you conscious of which side of the bed you prefer. Which end of the sheet belongs more to your feet. And then you remember, just as you get used to the concept of happy ever after, I don't is 2 syllables too. And so is goodbye. Thank you very much, everyone.
Mm. And so is goodbye. What an event of wonderful poems from everyone here, our group and you and our guests, and wow. I think you'll see this on YouTube. I'll send a link to it once it's set in. It'll be a couple of hours, and I think you'll all agree, if you have a chance to look at this again, what a spectacular bunch of poets everybody presented here. Very, very memorable works. I'm just overwhelmed to be so lucky to have hosted such talent and where poetry really, really lives in a true sense of the word. And thank you all, and hope that for those few among you who haven't have picked up the book, please get a copy. You know, it helps pay for this stuff and whatever, and I think you might enjoy it as well. And thank you all. Thank you all very much.